Good morning, everyone. We are on the bottom of Daf Peyam and Bays, 80b, right by the Gemara on the bottom. We did flip the page, but we'll start over there. It's a good place to start. Just a announcement. I mentioned. Thank you. No, yeah, I saw you. You sent me back. Thank you. Thank you. We mentioned it. I was just like the wrist. That's the announcement. It's on Monday, God willing. It's No, it's in Zichron Yaakov. That's where my son's in-laws live. Zichron Yaakov. It's a little bit of, yeah, no share on Monday. It's the bris is actually at 9:30. Bris at 9:30. So it's not a 1:30 bris, not a 7. No, no. Even if it was at 8:30, it'd be a challenge to get across that part of the country early in the morning. Well, it's very hard. Okay. So Monday we're off. Okay. So I'll start with the story. The story is from the Noam Elimelech. Sorry, about the Noam Elimelech. Elimelech Lezinsk. I believe his last name was Weissfish, I think. Weissfish. I didn't even know. Even in the 1700s, they also had last name, apparently. But Noam Elimelech, the author of the Sefer, Noam Elimelech, Rebbe Elimelech, so it's supposed to be Yogan later. Says the following story. I'm a little bit partial to Noam Elimelech because my wife was a descendant of Noam Elimelech, so I like to tell stories if possible. I have a couple more to put them together. I'll start with this. The following story. It says that Noam Elimelech was very sick. He seemed to be in his last days. His Talmidim were around him, and he was asleep, not conscious. Noam Elimelech. And all of a sudden he wakes up. And he wakes up and he has a full recovery. So how many more years he lived? He lived many years after that, some years after that. So he told his Talmidim that while he was out, he had a vision, a dream, or whatever, that he was in Shemayim. A very interesting dream. In Shemayim. And the Chesed LaAvraham, the author of the Chesed LaAvraham, of Avraham Azulai, so the great tzaddik, met him, greeted him there. And he told him how impressed he was with the movement of Hasidus. He was very happy with it. I'm on the left side to maintain my credentials, but I have a very warm place for Hasidus in my heart. He told him the Elimelech is the Talmud of the Talmud of the Maggid Mizrich, who was the Talmud of Baal Shem Tov. So it's very close to the start of Hasidus. So the Chesed LaAvraham, Avram Azulai, Shemayim is what Noam Elimelech saw in Shemayim. He told the students. He met the Chesed LaAvraham. He took him around to show him. So he was taking him to a certain base medrash or something. And there he met a fellow by the name of Mordechai. He said, Mordechai, yeah, he's a Jewish fellow who lived in Noam Elimelech's town, I guess it is. And he had passed away not so long ago. This Mordechai was a bookbinder by profession. He bound books, fixed up books, Sfarim, Sifrei Kodesh, that's what he did. He was in Shemayim now. And Elimelech met this Mordechai, and knowing that Mordechai was not a learned man, he was basically an Amoritz. He knew almost nothing other than how to bind Jewish books, but he didn't really know much about anything from the Torah. It was in the books, right? He wasn't know it was in the books. Exactly, only how to find it. So he says, Mordechai, it's good to see you. And he says, actually, here they call me Reb Mordechai. I passed that, and it made it to Shemayim, so they give me a title. He says, what do you do? He says, I go around and people who remember me, they teach me Torah. From there, I learn Torah in Shemayim, and people who remember me in my lifetime are nice enough to teach me Torah. So he says, I'll tell you my story. This Mordechai tells him his story. He gets up to Shemayim, and Mordechai tells him that the Noam Elimelech is telling the students after he came back, after being close to death, he tells the students what he saw in Shemayim. And this Reb Mordechai, this bookbinder who had passed away, tells Elimelech his story in Shemayim. is after he passes away, he gets up to Shemayim. He has a judgment. Sounds a little bit scary. Um, they put things on one side of the scale, other side of the scale. And it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for Mordechai or Mordechai. And they sentence him to go downwards and not upwards. So he's going out. Just a few moments afterward, two angels come and grab him, or the arms, I guess, and they whisk him straight back into the Bezdin. They whisk him straight back into the Bezdin. Um, and the Bezdin has, the prosecuting angel says, what's going on here? We already concluded. The defense attorney, if you want to call him that, the Malach says, no, it's a life and death case. He was going to behead him, so we're allowed to introduce information after the close to save a life. We could do that, so we're allowed to do that. He says, okay, not to here disagree, it's fine. So he says, this man was a bookbinder, and there was an angel. Apparently, that's his role is something to do with Sfarim, the Kedusha of Sfarim. And this Reb Mordechai, whenever he found a book, he treated them when he bound them with such great care. He took the books and he bound them and took care of them. Anytime a book was old, he'd fix it. And anytime he'd have to cut off pages, he took them and put them in special sacks in his attic or room, whatever it was, for Seamus to go for burial. Very, very special care he took of these books. And in came wagons. I guess today they'd have trucks. But no wagons, it's fine. His perception of those wagons, I guess, look like wagons. Today we probably perceive it. A person probably see cars or trains or I don't know what's coming in. But yeah, drones, exactly, drones. So it was wagons full of these sacks, and they put them on the scale. And they tipped the scale on his side. And they said, oh, Reb Mordechai, Zakai B'din, you're worthy, and he goes up to heaven. They gave him the title Reb Mordechai. He made it to heaven. That couple moments that he had going out, thinking he was going down, was probably all the Gehenna he needed. That was it. So that utter fear probably cleared him up of any wrongdoing. And he made it. He explained to Noam Elimelech that in his lifetime he was very unlearned. But didn't know anything, and he probably made many mistakes in his life because he didn't know very much. But he made it up to Shemayim because of the schus of how he treated Sfarim. Only Sfarim. So I thought that it's an interesting story. It's a nice story, a nice Jewish story, nothing wrong with it. But what the message? Why was Noam Elimelech told this story, shown this story, that we should have it, 250, whatever, how many years later? Why are we having this story? Why is it important to us, or even to his generation? I imagine that it's coming to teach you that a couple of things. First, make sure you learn. They're down here, so they'll have what to do when you get upstairs. That's one message. That's probably a subtle message, but more importantly is that, or another message is how we should treat Sfarim. This man, that was his one saving grace. And it's not just a saving grace, it had unbelievable power. I mean, that was such a tremendous chus. We treated his Sifrei Kodesh, holy Jewish books, properly. I think the most important message is how we don't appreciate people. This is a simple Jew, very unlearned Jew, very, very unlearned. He didn't know anything. And yet in Shemayim, they held very highly of him. And he was, the person who took good care of Sfarim. And Shemayim, they looked at him like, give him a title, Reb Mordechai. Just call him by the first name, give him a title first. So, we see people, I think that's the many messages, one of the messages of Chassidus, I think. I'm a little bit non-aritz in this department, but Chassidus, but I think one of the main messages of the story in Chassidus in general is appreciating every Jew. You even see a Jew of seemingly simple Jew, they're truly great. Their soul is beyond imagination. Their soul is otherworldly. So whoever they are so great that we can't fathom. And Melech, who was, the greatest of the greats, went up to Shemayim. He saw a very simple Jew. We saw someone who was of great stature. So we shouldn't wait till we get up to Shemayim, Bezat Hashem, to appreciate Jews. We should, in our lifetime, should see every Jew, no matter how simple it may seem to us, appreciate that who they are and what they're capable of and how much they mean to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should too treat them in kind. Okay, that's the story for today. Um, so, there. Okay, so now we're on Daf Pei Amud Beis, ADB, on the bottom. Let's take a drink. Okay, more. Okay, so Gemara is discussing here. We moved this Mishnah here, discussing the topic of a shomeras yavam, a woman who her husband passed away without children, and now she falls to the brother, one of the brothers of her deceased husband, and for Yibum or Chalitza. We talked about her status in terms of her land and her possessions. The question here we're going to discuss is the following: what happens if he passes away, the shomeras yavam, before she gets married or Chalitza? She's in the status. She's waiting for Yibum Chalitza. Excuse me. Who is required to bury her? Is her family required to bury her, like a single woman would be? Or, the Yorshei Av, the father, or the inheritors of the father's family? Or is it the Yavam? The Yavam has a certain connection with her. He has a Zika, we say in Yavamos, a sort of bond, without even marrying her yet, or doing Chalitza, without Yibum or Chalitza, there's some sort of bond, a connection. In fact, he even inherits her Ksuba when she passes away. Discuss that.
Is she regarded as a widow or a widow? If one got no children and he's got brothers, is she regarded as a widow first, and then a widow, or is she automatically a widow because he's got brothers?
She had, there are no children. They didn't have children.
No children.
So she is.
Is she automatically a widow?
No, that's an interesting question. What's her status? Her status is
she a widow, and if she goes into widow, or chalitza, she becomes a widow first.
Well.
And then goes, if she wants to go into widow or chalitza, one of the.
Right. Well, it seems like we'll touch on this today. If there's any point you're making that the status she at that point she has a zika. It's like this halachic force that says she can't marry anyone, and right now she has to have Yibum or Chalitza. So she has like being pulled in, she has two connections really, in terms of she's sort of connected to the family, and it's demonstrated in the Yerusha, who inherits the deceased brother. It's part of it gets inherited by the father's family, say the father, and the Yavam, the brothers who remain. So this is the one brother is going to do the Yavam. Let's make it simple. So there's sort of a dual force here, and so that's why we have a question: who is required to bury her? Who has the obligation, financial obligation to bury her? Because on one hand, in terms of the inheritance, the father and his family inherit some things, and the Yavam, interestingly, even though he has no connection really, is just the fact that she falls to him, this Yibum Chalitza state, the Zika, that gives him some rights in terms of inheriting the Ksuba. So maybe he's the one who has to bury her. So she's technically an almana because she's an almana. She's a widow. But the first halachic thing that hits her, other than Aninos and Velos, unfortunately, is that she's bound now. She's no longer normally a woman whose husband passes away. She's a free woman to marry whoever, almost anyone except the relatives of the husband, ex-husband, to marry. But Dibum, that's not the case. She is linked to this brother or brothers until they do something, even a chalitza. Until then, yeah. So this. Yes. Right. 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 Yeah. Right. Right. Certainly. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, because the property belongs to them. So she becomes a widow first,
Right.
and then after 30 days,
Oh.
then after 30 days, she becomes a widow.
She can do Yibum after 30 days. Yeah. Have to wait. Oh, right. Correct. We have to wait 3 months. Correct. Right. Unless there was other circumstances, he was in a different country or something like that. We discussed that. Assuming he's around, you have to have the 3 month clause to wait. Just to make a distinction between. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be he's out to war or something.
So the missions took the Morris took it out 3 months later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She has to, assuming yeah, the Yibum can't happen right away. In terms of the inheritance, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, we're actually talking about when she passed away. We don't know when she passed away yet. Before the Yibum Rechlita happened. That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated. Yeah. 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 So the Gemara says as follows: they ask the following question: Shomeres Yavam, a woman who has her husband passed away without children, and she's waiting for one of the brothers of the deceased husband, the Yibun Chalita. That's her state. Shemesa, should read it straight across. Shemesa, but she passed away before Yibun Chalita are done. Now she has connections to both her family and the Yavam, the brother-in-law. So Mikobra, who has the obligation to bury her? Yorshe Habal Kavrila. Yorshe Habal means the Yavam, the brother of this brothers of the deceased. Let's say it's brother, make it easier. Brother of this deceased husband. He has to bury. Why? The Kayarsi Ksuba. Do we say me cover Yarshe Bal Kavrila the Kayarsi Ksuba? Do we say because he is the one who inherits the Ksuba? That Ksuba, we'll discuss this a lot today. This Ksuba we're talking about here. The Ksuba that she inherits, that she has the right to Ksuba, he inherits it. We'll discuss this Ksuba concept. Or Odilma Yarshe Ab Kavrila, perhaps the father or the inheritors of the father's family, the father of the girl, this woman, her father, the father of the woman, yes. The woman inherit, they're the one who would inherit her in this particular circumstance, because he's not married. Yarshe Ab Karvila, the Kayarsi Nechasim Hanechnasim Ayotimima, because they inherit the Nechasim Hanechnasim Ayotimima. Though that means some discussion in Tosfos, that means the Nichse Miluk, the properties that she has in the marriage, that she Tosfos explains a little bit, not getting too much into that. The property that she has from Nichse Miluk, that she has, she brought into the marriage or inherited in her previous marriage, that belong to her. She maintains the principal. The husband gets the profits, the fruits, the peros. So that, in the event of this Shomeres Yavam, this woman waiting for Yibum, Chalisa, if she passed away, those possessions go to the father's house. Father inherits them. So she has dual inheritors. It's not an unusual situation. I mean, you have a situation where you have, a father passed away after May, that's 120, and then you have sons. So you have obviously have different people inheriting. But here you have two different, two different families almost, two different groups entirely that have a right to the inheritance. This is Beis Hillel. So Beis Shammai, whatever. With Beis Hillel here. So then you have the competing inheritors, not competing. Different things get inherited by different groups, not dividing the same inheritance. It's different groups. The Yavam, because of his connection, a loving connection to her, he gets the Ksuva, and the father or the father's family, or the father of the woman, they inherit the Nichnasim Ayotimima, the property that she owns that she brought into the marriage. So who is the one that has to bury her? So Amar Rav Amram. Rav Amram says, Tashma, I'll bring you a raya from, come with us, literally. I'll bring a raya of the Tanya, from the following brisa. We're learning the following brisa. Shomeres Yavam Shemesa, a woman whose husband passed away without children, and she's waiting for the brother-in-law to do, or the brother of the deceased husband to do Yibam or Chalitza, Shomeres Yavam. Shemesa, exactly our case. Just flip the page to pay Aleph Hamad Aleph, 81a, and on top, oops, sorry, better job there. Highlighting. Okay. Tanya. Shomer Siyavan Shemesa, this woman who's waiting for Yibam Chlita and she passed away. Yorsheha, her inheritors, who are Yarshei Ksuvasa, specifically those who inherit her Ksuva, which means the Yavam, the brother of the deceased husband, who would get the Ksuva, Chayav and Mikurasa, is obligated in her crew to bury her. Remember, we discussed this concept that different opinions way back when, that certain things the husband gives and the wife gives back. Like the wife gives her husband maisiyah, some of the produce of her work that she produces, or spinning wool, whatever, and the husband in turn gives her the zonas, provides food for her. It's different things one for the other. The ksuva corresponds to the kfura. The husband buries her and he gives her the ksuva. In a normal non-yivam situation, that's what they're committed to each other for. But here, similar idea. The yavam, the brother of the deceased husband, since he inherits the ksuva, it's an event that she passes away before yivam, so therefore he has to pay for her kfura. He does not sit shiva for, right? To my knowledge, no. I said I remember that one. No. So we think of it funny, like what's this connection between a yavam and a yavam? It's monetary and obligatory. It's like it has obligations and it has money that comes along with it. Some interesting thing.
So the brothers are automatically known as a yavam.
Yeah, correct. Automatically, yeah.
Even though she hasn't said yes yet.
Right. She could say, "Well, yeah, he's a yavam even if he does chalitza."
Yeah.
In the end, yeah. He's a yeah, yeah, yeah. 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 Okay. So Amar Abaye. Abaye says, "I'll bring you a raya. I'll bring you proof to what we just said, to this brisa that Rav Amram said. That this follows. Amar Abaye. Afanam nami tanina. We also learned this in a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah later on Sadi Hey and Beis. We had it before. Almana nizon. We quoted it before. Almana nizonis mnichsa yisomin. A widow is fed from the property of the orphans. If her husband passed away, the sons inherit him, and the wife gets to live in the house until she gets the ksuva, or asks for it. And the sons have to provide food for her until she asks for the ksuva, so she gets the ksuva. Yeah. Umaisi adeh shalah. Shalhan, it's the coordinate. And the Maisei go to him. So the sons, we've done this before. Let me read the whole thing. I'm reading it too choppy. Almana nizonas mnichse yisomit. The widow gets fed from the possessions, the inheritance that her sons or her stepsons, whatever, from her late husband. Umaisi adeh shalhan. Since they're feeding her, providing food for her, so they get her maisiyada, her earnings. Vein chayim b'kurasa, but those sons are not, or stepsons are not obligated to bury her. Who is Yorsha, her inheritors, who are after then she passed away, because that's when we're talking about burial. Yorsha, Yorshei Ksuvasa chayim b'kurasa. Her inheritors, kama, who are those who inherit her ksuva, are chayiv in kura. Are obligated to bury her. So again, this Mishnah that we learned before says a number of things. The thing we're concerned about is the burial. It says that a widow whose husband passed away, the sons inherit him, and they are obligated to feed her, the widow, and since they're providing food for her, so she gives them her earnings uh, up to a certain amount. And they are not, the sons of the deceased husband are not required to bury her, but somebody else is. The Yorsha, the inheritors are. Who are those? The ones who inherit her ksuba. So, so we're talking about a different interesting terminology. It says the inheritors who are the Yorsha ksuba. It sounds like there's different types of inheritors. What kind of situation do we have different types of inheritors? Normally, a husband passed away, the sons inherit him, or you can have someone who passed away and the father inherits, or there's no other relatives, the brothers inherit. It's usually a group, not two different types. When you have such a situation, you have two different types of groups that have access or rights to this inheritance. The Ezohi Almana. Which is the Almana? Sheyesh la Shnei Yarshin. There's two different types of inheritors. Hare Omer Zeh Shomeres Yavam. That is a Shomeres Yavam, a woman whose husband passed away without children, and she falls to, let's say, a brother, and that brother, and then she passes away. So then you have two sets of inheritors. You have the father's house. They inherit the Nichsei Milu, the property that she holds on to as her property, and the Yavam and the brother of the deceased husband, he is the one who inherits her ksuba. So that one, the one who inherits her ksuba, is the one who has to burial based on this Mishnah. So this Mishnah, we see that it's the Yavam, the brother of the deceased husband, is the one who pays for the burial. Okay.
Children are obligated to bury the brother.
Right. If there's no brother.
But if the earnings belong to, but they are not obligated to bury a burial. Heirs, which means got children. One had a yeah, you're right. Wouldn't have been yeah.
However, yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So far we've concluded that when a woman, it's an unusual case, but the husband passed away, she falls to the brother-in-law, and then she passes away too. I mean, it could be like in the events of a plague or something. You have this kind of situation, but things happen. So who inherits? Who has to bury her? The Yavam has to bury her, the brother of the deceased husband. Okay. So now we're going to question. That's what Abaye said, and Rava is going to ask questions on this, and we'll have a discussion back and forth between Abaye and Rava to take us through today. Okay. Okay, so Amar Rava. Rava is going to question Abaye's principle that the Yavam. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. From where is it? He gives the ksuba. It belongs to him, presumably for use for burial, but it could be more. I don't know. Burial costs 200 zuz, or 100 zuz. It's that he keeps. It's his. It's his. It's a strange thing. Like, what connection does he? What connection does he have to her? You may ask. It was ksuba. We're going to discuss this conceptually now. Like, you raised an interesting point. It's because you get the ksuba from her. Does she get it from her? Who is she getting it from? Is it hers and then he gets it, or he gets it from the previous brother? That's an important topic. We'll discuss that now. How she gets this ksuba. We're going to talk about that. So It's because we need more details, right? We need more information. We're not going to. I don't know how clear we'll get by the end of today, maybe tomorrow, whatever Sunday, Hashem, but we'll need more information. So I'm a Rava. In this discussion of Abai and Rava, we'll have a better understanding of the Ksuva. So I'm a Rava. Let me just highlight it a little better. Drink. So I'm a Rava. Rava says as follows: Ma'ach ani yoresh, ishto enani kober. So wait a second. Why does the brother of the deceased husband, have to bury the wife? He could say, "I'm not, I'm not collecting the ksuva from her. Uh, I'm not collecting the ksuva through her. I'm collecting as a brother of the deceased husband, one of the brothers. This ksuva is not coming to me through her, and therefore I get the ksuva. I have to bury her from her. I got the ksuva from her. I get it from. I have to bury her. I got the ksuva because I'm a brother. I'm a brother of the deceased husband. I should have more than one brother. And through that, I get the ksuva. I'm not obligated to bury her. I'm only obligated to bury her if it comes from her, the ksuva. She never got a ksuva. She never got a ksuva. We'll see conceptually that we'll see conceptually that no, I forgot my thought here. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But conceptually, he's saying that she never got the ksuba. It's not really in her purview yet. She just doesn't collect. He goes. There's a Rishon mentions this, I believe. I think others as well. The ksuba goes. What we're saying here, the ksuba is a concept, and we'll see this in Rashi. Another thing, the ksuba is not really. She never had a ksuba time yet. Even when her husband passed away, she goes straight to the yavam. Normally, what happens is a woman either gets if she has a divorce or her husband passed away, she gets a ksuba. Here, she went. What you were touching on before, she goes immediately becomes a yavam. She goes to the yavam, the brother of the deceased husband. So there's never a ksuba moment. At this point, the husband either at this point there's no ksuba yet. He goes straight to the brother. No, we're not talking ksuba. He has to decide even chalitza. So he's saying, Rabbi is saying, he could say, I'm not getting the ksuba to you. You're not a conduit of ksuba yet. I'm not getting ksuba from you. I'm getting it as an inheritance. It never came to you. It came to me from my deceased brother. So I don't need to bury you. That's when to have the actual conversation. She passed away. But he says, I don't need to bury her. Ishto enok en anikover. His wife, I'm not going to bury. So Amr le Abaye. Abaye says back to that. Mishum deboy malon mishnei tzadim. It's because you're coming it from two sides. It's like you're like pulling a rope from two ends, or to playing both sides of the whatever. I don't know the right expression. You're taking it from both ends. He's going to explain. If you're inheriting as a brother, and along perhaps with other brothers, so you're inheriting a ksuva. Okay, so it's coming from the brother, not her. You should still have to bury his wife. You're getting the ksuva, inheriting that ksuva. Granted, you still have to bury his wife. If you don't bury her, being in cobra as bishto, eating suvasa. Then if you're not going to bury her, then you have no right to the ksuba to give it back or don't get it in the first place. Just the right to the ksuba only comes through you're burying her. Says Abaye. So says Rava. Says Abaye back to Rava. Tricky. Who says what here? So Amr Le. So it's so who's talking to who here? So Abaye. So there's Rava. Rava now. Rava's starting back to Abaye. Amr Le.
The notes to myself, it pays the ketubah in return for the burial.
Right. It's one for the. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the pay the ketubah.
No, no, no. Abai is saying, in theory, im eno koberas. If you're not going to bury her, as Ishtar, if you're not going to bury his wife, yiteng suvasa, give back the ksuba, like, give it up, give back to the father's family, whatever, because you have no right to it. The right to the ksuba only comes through burial. You inherit it one way or the other. You're claiming it's from the brother. Abai says that you're claiming from the brother. So what? You're still getting the ksuba. Getting the ksuba, you have to pay for it. You have to you have to do something in return to do the kura, the burial. Right. Yeah. That's the one thing. Like just like my phone. Just like just like a woman gets food from the husband, and in exchange he gets her earnings. So same idea. Ksuba for burial. Doesn't have to be this case of a yavam. The normal cases. The husband gives her a ksuba, and in the event of burial, he buries her. It's one for the other. Okay. So Amrle, it's a little tricky to have to figure out who says what along the way because they drop the names and just go to pronouns. So Rava said to Abaye, and then Abaye said to Rava, and now I think this is Rava saying back to Abaye, Amrle, Hachikamina. So this is what I mean. This is what Rava says. The Yavam should really be able to get out of burying her. Why, says Rava? Hachikamina. Achani Yoresh Ishta. No, you could say, I'm sorry, Achani Yoresh. He could say, I'm not getting the money through the wife. It never came to her. She was never eligible for a ksuba. The moment her husband passed away, she became waiting for me to do something. Then she passed away. So there's no, at that point, I didn't have an obligation for ksuba. So I'm not going to bury her. Vi mishum ksuva. If you're going to say, listen, if you're going to get the ksuba, you need to bury her, the one for the other. If you don't bury her, you don't get the ksuba. Ivi mishum ksuva, lo nitna ksuva legabus mechayim. The ksuva was not given to collect in a lifetime. Right. The only time you get a ksuva, as I mentioned before, is in the event that the husband passes away or he divorces her. Here, since the Rashi says, "Kol zman shabal chai." Anytime the husband's alive, she doesn't have a right to ksuba. For example, if she predeceases him, she doesn't get a ksuba. The Rashi says, "Vani b'mokom bal," and like the husband steps into the shoes, the yavam, the brother of the deceased husband, steps into the shoes of the deceased husband, and so there's never a time when there's a ksuba. It's not collectible in the lifetime. It never came to fruition. The ksuba never came up. It's only a theoretical concept here. The yavam can say. Let's say, Rav is saying back to Abaye, what do you mean? Abaye says, if you're going to get the ksuba, you have to bury her. Nikuda, that's it. Period. No question. And Rav is saying back, no, this ksuba is only a theoretical concept. You can't, in theory, I would have to bury her once the ksuba is a concept, but not here because I was never eligible for Torah ksuba. I was just stepping into the shoes of the husband. So let's take this a little further into the discussion of the Gemara. And we'll have hopefully a better idea of this very difficult concept to understand. Yeah. It could take place. Case of chalitza. I think she gets the ksuba from the prior husband. Then. Yeah. Yeah. In the event of a chalitza. Yeah. Yeah. I believe so. Yeah. He only has. Right. Right. Correct. So in the case when there's Yibum, this is the connection. I think the Yavam is connection to the Ksuba. The Yavam, if the brother of the deceased brother, if he does do ibam, they're now married, and the ksuba obligation doesn't come from his properties; it comes from the properties of the brother. So as soon as there's a connection, as soon as the brother passed away, that obligation of the ksuba comes along with him. It just comes along, and that's why we're talking about his right of the ksuba. You're probably asking, what does this guy have to do with ksuba? Steps into the shoes of the brother, and the brother, the deceased brother's estate covers the ksuba, the new marriage, if there's iba. So that's why it's there. But so anyway, Abaye says that the only time you have a right to ksuba is if you bury her. If you're not going to bury her, you don't get a ksuba. So you have to bury her. You're getting the ksuba, you have to bury her. Rava says from a different perspective. It's a little bit more difficult to understand, but we'll understand it further as we go on with the proofs here. And Rava said, "Lo nitna ksuba legavos mechayim." It's not even around the ksuba to talk about. He has to pay the root. He has to pay the burial, but the ksuba never came to fruition. It's like a concept. You're probably thinking, well, the obligation is always there, right? So that's the Gemara is going to discuss that, but hold that thought. But so lo nitna ksuba legavos mechayim. So man shamislei. This is Abaye. Man shamislei islei midrash ksuba. Who told you? From where did you learn the concept that that as Rashi says, this is the fourth Rashi, it's Man Shamislay is the first word in Rashi. Man Shamislay the Islay Medrasuva, Shadore Shlosh Naksuva Shakosidba. That we take the words literally that it says in the Ksuva. What does it say in the Ksuva? It says, Lekesh Tinosi La'acher. When you're able, this is what it says in the Ksuva, when you're able to marry somebody else, in other words, in events of divorce or death, the husband, titli masha kasav lechi. Then you could collect what says in here. You get to collect the 200 zuz, 100 zuz. You collect it. In other words, until that point, right? How do you know that? How do you know this concept, Rava? Abaye says Rava. How do you know Rava this concept that she was never eligible for ksuba because it never, as soon as her husband dies, the brother steps into his shoes. There's no ksuba. It never came to fruition. It's a concept. It never came. How do you know that? That's based on a literal reading of the ksuba that we hold, that we darshan. We literally took the literal words of the ksuba, and that's how we hold. That it says in the ksuba, when you're available to get married to somebody else, whether that's in the divorce or death of the husband, then you get your ksuba. But here, since the brother steps into the shoes of his brother, it's a continuation of the brother. So there's never a moment when the ksuba takes effect. But how do you know that? Who says that concept? That's how we learn the ksuba. The words of the ksuba, literally. Man Shamislay says, Abaye back to Rava. Man Shamislay dislay medrash ksuba. That we read and interpret and halachically use the literal words of the ksuba, which tells us that this brother-in-law she does not eligible for ksuba because the husband, although he died, the brother stepped right into his shoes as if the brother's alive still. Beis Shammai, it was Beis Shammai who said. However, if you're going with Beis Shammai, Abaye continues again to say against Rava, to say his case against Rava. Bishamina mahulu Beis Shammai, and we heard Beis Shammai said, Da'amri, Bishamina Beis Shammai Da'amri, shtar ha'omed legavos kigavoy dam. A shtar, an obligation, say a person has an IOU, a loan, whatever, on somebody else, it's a omed legavos, which is it's literally it's ready, it's standing to be collected. It's as if it's collected. What that means is that it's already in force, even though if you have an IOU on someone, even though it's not collected, it's as if it's in it's more connected to the other person. For example, if the lender lends money to the borrower, Reuben lends money to Shimon, even though Shimon the borrower is holding the money is more the lender's money. It's omed legavos. He's able to collect it. And maybe I haven't get into the sugya here, but maybe after a certain time, it's a time limit on the loan. But it's as if the lender has the money, has more rights to the money than the borrower, even though the borrower is holding the money. What does that mean? That it means the ksuva, but she's holding the ksuva, we all, Rava was saying it's just a theoretical concept. He doesn't have the ksuba yet. So how can you say he's obligated to bury her? This is telling us how we're saying, by saying we're going with Beis Shammai, you're clearly going with Beis Shammai, Rava. It must be that a contract, which a ksuba basically is, it says, in the event of that, she gets 200. It's as if she's already collected it to a certain extent. Even though the husband's still alive and the brother of the deceased husband fills his shoes, it's as if she has possession of it. There's a certain degree that she takes ownership of it to a certain extent, in that sense. So since she has some sort of ownership to it, it's as if she's collected it to some extent. What does it say? As if. As if. Kilu, as I say in Hebrew. Kilu, he already has it. Not that obviously she has not collected ksuba, but it's as if she has it. So Abayi says back to Rava here, she does have the ksuba, rights to the ksuba, so to speak. If she has rights to the ksuba, he has the obligation to bury her. In essence, we'd say that the machlokas is like this. Rava says there's nothing to talk about. There's no ksuba has happened yet. So how could the Yavam could say, the brother of the deceased brother could say, the didn't came into place yet, the ksuba, I don't have to bury her. And Abai is saying back, no, that since the ksuba is written in the obligation is written in the ksuba, it's like an IOU. It's as if she already has a right to it, as if it's hers, as if it's almost, that's her, not really, but it's always, she has some sort of hold on it. And so therefore the ksuba is in play. If the ksuba is in play, then Abai is saying back to Rava, he definitely does have to bury her, even though there's no current obligation to ksuba. No, but it's there. That obligation is there. Yes, it's kind of, yeah. Uh, yeah. Right. Right. It's not. Oh, I'm running a little bit late here, so let me just try to catch up here. Sorry. This is a tricky point, so it's hard to get. It's not. If you learn the following in the Mishnah, the following Mishnah in Sota tells us this concept. Mesu Baleim. If you have two women who are accused of not being loyal to their husband, having an extramarital affair with someone else, and the whole case of the Sota, and the Sota, the husband accuses her, brings her to, and she secludes with somebody, have witnesses, and they bring her up to Yerushalayim, and she needs to drink the water with Hashem's name in it, etc. So before she has a chance to drink the water, so there's a state of being accused, Mesu Baleim Achlo Shasu. Before they have a chance to drink the water, their husband passed away. So do they get a ksuba? Interesting question. Beis Shammai omrim not los ksuba v'lo shosos. No, they're in a doubt, but they get their ksuba. They don't have to drink the water. Beis Hillel omrim. Beis Hillel says o shosos o lo notlos. Either drink or don't get your ksuba. So before we even explain Beis Hillel, we need some explanation. O shosos. They drink the water. The husband's dead. Ish as ishto al kohen. The pasuk says the man brings his wife, the kohen in Yerushalayim, to have her drink. Obviously, she can't drink. So what does it mean? I'm sorry. Hevi ish as ishto al kohen amrachon. The Torah says specifically that he has to bring her. So obviously, he can't do that. Veleka, he's not around anymore. Ela mitoch shelo shosos lo notlos. It means that because she can't drink, she doesn't get her ksuba. So it's a machlokes whether no lotlos ksuba. Sorry. So according to Beis Shammai, she does get the ksuba. In this case, according to Beis Hillel, she does not. Beis Shammai, we ask, Beis Shammai omrim notlos. She gets her ksuba. Beis Shammai omrim notlos ksuba. Below shosos. The Beis Shammai holds she gets her ksuba. Vamai. Why does she get it? Sveikahu. It's a sveika. It's a doubt. Safik zane. Safik lo zane. Maybe she had immoral relations. She cohabited with another man. Maybe she didn't. The kasi we hold safik umotzi Wakasi safik umotzi midei vadai. Do we hold that we have a suffix you can take from a certainty? In other words, it's a basic principle in safik umotzi midei vadai. When you have a certainty, something that's a doubt doesn't take away from a certainty. Here, you have a woman who maybe is not eligible for ksuba because she was not loyal to her husband. Maybe she was not. And who's holding on to the money for the ksuba? The father's household. Um, who's holding on to it? The estate of the father, as opposed to the sons, whatever. So how come the sons, the state is sort of the muksak, the rightful owner, they're holding on to it. You can't have this woman who's saying, in a doubt, maybe yes, I get it, maybe I don't get it. How could she come along and take away from the one who's holding on to it? Hey, amotzi michaver al haraya. The wife is a suffix. Maybe she's not eligible for it. You can't come with that suffix to take away the person who's holding on to the money, is the estate of the late husband, the sons who inherited. How could they do that? Uh, so Kasavri Beishamai, Beishamai held star ome legavos kigave dama. We see that Beishamai holds that a star that is about to be that omid is in place to be collected as if it's collected. In other words, in our case, this case of the sota, since this woman has a right to the ksuba, she is the one holding on to the ksuba, so to speak. She has it; it's in her turf, so to speak. The ksuba, it's on her rights, almost as if it's in her bank, so to speak. Um, so therefore, even though she's in a doubt, the money is by her, so she has rights to it. She's the muksa, she's the one holding on to it, so to speak. Similar case, that riot is to bring a proof to what we said before, that this person, this woman whose husband passed away without children, she didn't get the ksuba yet, but it's as if she got the ksuba. So if she has the ksuba is in play. If he wants to get the ksuba from her, what she's trying to do, so he's trying to get the ksuba from her. He's trying to get the ksuba from her. So, um, he's trying to get the ksuba from her. So then he has to pay for the burial. It's not like there's some concept. The ksuba hasn't come into play yet. Ksuba isn't in play yet. If he's going to get the ksuba from her, through her, then he has to pay for her burial to her, so to speak, to her. Okay. Right. We don't know. Right. 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 Okay. So the more I ask a question. Sorry, I got very caught up in this difficult machlokas between Abai and Rava. So the more I ask the question. Wait a second. Okay. So how do we say that she has rights to? So maybe granted the money is like in her possession. So he has some sort of rights, and then he's collecting from her, so he has to give her, has to give the burial in return. But we ask the question, technically he should not be able to be eligible for the ksuva at all. That if he's not eligible for the ksuva, then he shouldn't have to pay for the burial. Why? But the ksuba explicitly, the right word out, explicitly says that when she's able to marry someone else, then she gets what's in the ksuba. She gets the mezuzah. Here, she can't marry anyone else. There's a zika. There's a hold on her that she has to either do chalitza or even with the brother-in-law. The stipulation of the ksuba haven't been fulfilled. How can we say the brother gets the ksuba, that she gets the ksuba is at least within her rights to get the ksuba, and therefore, since the ksuba is coming through her now when she passes away, so therefore he has to pay for her burial. But technically, she's not eligible for ksuba because she can't marry anyone else, as I said in the ksuba. When you're able to marry somebody else, then you get a ksuba. But she can't marry anyone else. She's waiting for the yavam to the chalitza. Amar Ravashi, yavam nami ka'achar damu. Yeah, she can marry someone else. It happens to be one other person. In this case, be the brother-in-law. But that's enough. Since she's able to marry someone else other than the husband, brother-in-law, therefore it fulfills the stipulations of the ksuba. As Abayi says, ksuba is coming to her. It's as if she has it already. He's inheriting it through her, and therefore he has to bury her, says Abayi. Back to Rava. Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll hold it here. We'll hold it here. It's till hold it here. So I'll pick it up on Sunday, God willing, and then Monday we'll yeah, and then that's so yeah. Baruch Hashem. Huh? Okay, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbos. Yeah, it's Hashem.